Arkansas is dealing with another anti-gay pastor who got caught with child pornography. Now, Dave Reynolds is the pastor in question, and he was the Cornerstone Bible Fellowship, or was the pastor at the Cornerstone Bible Fellowship in Sherwood, Arkansas, and is currently facing 70 counts of distributing, possessing, or viewing child pornography. He's 40 years old and has preached that marriage is between a man and a woman and that all homosexual activity is a sin. And he was arrested this week after police recovered a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that a social media account in Sherwood was storing pages and pages and pages and pages of images of kiddie porn.
Yeah, the gay people are the problem.
Yeah, totally. The ones who want to get married because they're such,
so
such radical.
What do we think? Is this story number 1,000 that we've covered of people who are ranting against the immorality of certain people? It's usually gay people, but sometimes they'll mix it up. Yeah, feminists, trans people,
right. Whatever,
right? Black Lives Matter, whatever, right? Oh, they're all immoral.
If you're into equality, you're basically fair play for them. Like,
yeah,
they're your target for them.
That's right. Then they go home and they're like, kiddie porn, give me the kiddie porn. And so it's beware of people preaching morality, right? So people who say, hey, you know what, we're all human and number one, we should all have the same rights. It's not that complicated, right?
Right.
Like nobody's asking for special rights or anything like that. Mm-hmm. We're saying, hey, let everybody be who they are and just, it's this crazy concept that I think America used to be in favor of called freedom, right? But certain people like this, no freedom, because they are deeply immoral.
Then people got greedy.
So like sometimes people get mad at me because I'll make assumptions about people like that. But it's assumptions based on experience like this.
Yeah, it's
over and over again.
It's not like this is an isolated case. There have been so many stories of anti-gay politicians or anti-gay members of, whatever religion, and then later on we find out that they're gay themselves. Right. And so usually those who are dedicating their entire lives to judging the lifestyles of others, of people who are not causing any harm whatsoever, they just want to live their lives and have the same rights as everyone else. The people who are criticizing them are usually doing it for a reason. If you dedicate your life to judging others, it's because you want to distract people from judging you.
It's a deflection technique.
Yes.
Yeah.
This silent sinners scream the loudest.
Oh,
right?
I like that.
That's one of my favorite sayings, and that's always true. So I'm always suspect of someone who's overly religious publicly.
Yeah, totally.
Right away you're suspect, including the Pope. Number two.
Although this one's pretty good.
That's what it looks like.
Relatively speaking.
That's what it looked like. Hey, I thought Bill Cosby was the greatest guy in the world.
Yeah.
So
no, this Pope's excellent.
Up until you saw his latest comedy special, which was terrible, right? Then you were like, forget it. You're
the Pope, right? Yeah.
Either one, unclear. Yeah.
So the overly religious in public already suspect, and then anybody who screams against someone else. The only people, straight people don't care about what gay people are doing sexually. We don't think about it. We don't care about it. That's fine. You know who does? Guys who are repressing their own homosexuality. They can't stop thinking about it.
Right. Exactly.
And
they have it on their mind. Yeah.
It's true. I've never heard a bunch of straight guys like having a beer, watching the game, going like, "What should we do to suppress gay people?"
Right.
No, seriously.
Do you know there's guys?
They're too busy trying to figure out how to get laid.
Yeah, we're sitting there watching the game, and we're like, "Do you know there's gay guys sucking cocks all over this country right now?
Throbbing.
What do we
do?
Throbbing.
Is venus a word?
And they're constantly trying to shove their agenda down our throats.
Exactly.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
And
it's starting to penetrate.
Yeah, I got an agenda in the back seat.
a semi agenda.
So normally guys who are ranting against gays happen to be gay themselves. This guy obviously is not that. He's actually hideous. Mm-hmm. Like the hypocrisy is bad enough, right? In this case, we have the hypocrisy of judging other people's morality.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you have the deep immorality of being into kiddie porn.
Right. So and we should I feel like this point kind of. People do conflate these two things, right? But there's pedophilia and then there's homosexuality. Right. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with Larry Craig being gay. The thing that's wrong with Larry Craig being gay is that he was a professional homophobe and used his career as a senator to pass homophobic legislation, right? there is something always wrong. I'm going to go out on a limb, call me crazy, and say there's something always wrong with pedophilia and kiddie porn, right?
Yeah,
so I just want to so that is the thing that you say is bad, and we're not tolerant of. But again, people then they don't get it. Like, wait, I don't get it. If being gay is who cares if this person's gay if you're the one who are tolerant of gay people. It's really easy. It's the hypocrisy that we have a problem with.
And by the way, I just want to be super clear. Dave Reynolds, we have no idea if he's gay or straight. Right.
Right.
So we don't even know what gender he was looking at when he was looking at child porn. He's into kiddie porn. That's all you need to know.
So when he was confronted about the allegations against him, he was questioned, right? And the first question was, "Are you viewing child porn?" And his answer was, "Not that I know of."
I was just shopping for a new truck, and I'm like, oh my God, is that someone's agenda? I didn't know.
I like the idea that he's watching like experimental art films. It's like I don't know where's the line between art house cinema and kiddie porn.
I thought these were birthing videos. That's what I thought I was watching, and it turns out I'm committing a crime. I had no idea. And let me tell you something. I know when one of these guys are gay. I can tell. I have a. I told you this. I have a gay test.
Oh, I didn't know. No.
So if I look at a guy, and my dick gets hard.
They're totally gay.
Gay.
Gay as the night is long.
Do they come out in the summer?
That's very open of you, Jim.
Thank you.
By the way, if I was the cops and I asked, hey, are you watching child porn? He said, not knowingly. I'd be like, okay, handcuff him. Let's go. We're done with this case.
Remember they didn't want to open up that Muslim cultural center, which they call the 9/11 Mosque, and they're like, we shouldn't open that within a what block radius of the Twin Towers. I'm always like, you shouldn't open up a school within a certain radius of any Catholic churches. Yeah.